Avengers Infinity War, the first of a two-part Avengers saga, and a film that I genuinely enjoyed as precisely what I expected it to be. A largely popcorn action adventure superhero movie with little to no originality or story, but sufficient amounts of spectacle, action, and humor to be entertaining and engaging for 2 hours. I don't think I'll do one of my usual reviews for this one. Normally, I summarize the plot first and then critique various components of the movie afterwards. But given the pedestrian narrative structure of the plot of this film, I think I'll just give you my general thoughts instead. The reason for this is because the film really is just a series of disconnected action set pieces staged in various locations on Earth and in space, in which the reunited Avengers, joined by Stephen Strange, Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Guardians of the Galaxy, race against time to stop Thanos, the primary villain, from getting all of the Infinity Stones. At times, it does feel like I'm watching a video game Let's Play. I will confess, though I have seen most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, I don't watch the myriad of Marvel TV shows, as none of them interest me, and I don't know how anyone could ever have the time. There's so bloody many of them. And also, I have missed a few of the recent films. I missed Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and both of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, though I saw bits of the first one. As all of these films work in standalone form anyway, I don't believe I missed too much, as I was perfectly able to follow Avengers Infinity War without any problems. Obviously, the only minor issue was the opening of the movie, which appears to pick up after the events of Ragnarok. In this opening scene, spoilers ahead obviously, Thanos kills Loki, though given how many times he's died and come back at this point, death in this franchise has little to no emotional impact anymore. It's here that Thanos picks up the Tesseract and continues his quest to acquire all of the stones throughout the film, culminating, ultimately, with the Mind Stone in Vision's head. Thanos' plan is to get all of the stones, place them into the Infinity Gauntlet that contains them, snap his fingers and wipe out half of all life in the universe. This, he believes, is a mercy because, in his mind, the universe is massively overpopulated and resources are not abundant. On paper, it sounds like an odd motivation for a villain. What sells it, though, is the excellent performance of Josh Brolin as Thanos. As you might expect, there's simply too many characters in this movie. It's just too many larger-than-life heroes to keep track of. It's ridiculous at times. You've got Bruce Banner, who can't seem to turn into the Hulk in this movie, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man fighting Ma and Obsidian in New York. Then they get separated from Hulk, and they end up in space, on a spaceship, traveling to Titan, where they meet up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Meanwhile, Scarlet Witch and Vision are ambushed in Scotland, but rescued by the returning Steve Rogers, Falcon, and Black Widow. Then there's Thor, who after meeting with Guardians of the Galaxy, travels to nowhere with Groot and Rocket to get the Reality Stone. There's a secondary plot related to Gamora's relationship with Thanos going on, which leads to her apparent death in order for him to gain the Soul Stone on Vormir. And then there's a massive battle at Wakanda, which ultimately leads to a last and futile conflict with Thanos before he achieves his plan by the film's conclusion. I'm obviously seriously glossing over the details here, but that's basically it. As I expected, the film doesn't really focus on any one primary superhero like the way the two previous Avengers movies tended to focus more on Stark and Rogers. Put simply, it wouldn't have been fair to the characters or the fans if one or two superheroes had been prioritized over the rest. So, as a consequence, no one really gains any meaningful character development. Though there's plenty of intergalactic travel, there's no time for anyone to go on any kind of personal journey in this movie. So you never get emotionally invested in anyone, at least not the good guys. So in my view, the primary character in this movie is really Thanos. He's the only character who has any compelling or interesting quality in the film. He's also the only one saying and doing anything interesting. As a result of the film being jammed to bursting point with characters and special effects fueled action scenes, all of the protagonists are reduced to what are essentially utilitarian functions. Because of the paint-by-numbers nature of the story and the gratuitous amount of CGI, it's easy for cinema audiences to become overwhelmed to the point of becoming numb to the constant, relentless action on screen. So, as is becoming all too frequent in big blockbuster Hollywood movies nowadays, in particular in this franchise, the writers insert as many witty one-liners as possible, often in moments that seem inappropriate to the serious nature of the events taking place. A major existential, earth-shattering catastrophe is unfolding, and characters are making jokes, and this isn't being done to break the dramatic tension in the film or anything. There is no dramatic tension in these kinds of films. There's no suspense of any kind. It's just continuously escalating levels of action for 2 2 hours. So the humor is really just thrown in as a means of helping the audience to suspend their disbelief. The reason I believe this to be the case is because without the humor, the excessive breakneck action and CGI overload in the film would become tiresome and eventually lose its impact. It would descend into a farce that takes itself too seriously, because some of the action set pieces are so over the top, the film could come across as being eye-rollingly cheesy and self-important. So the constant humor helps to sell the film as nothing but a bit of light-hearted fun and little more than titillation. That's why reviewing these films is often kind of difficult. You're supposed to just enjoy the film as a thrill ride, a popcorn affair, and one giant CGI showcase with a few laughs. If you criticize the film on any structural, thematic, creative, or intellectual basis, you'll be told you're taking it too seriously. So realistically, the filmmakers can put almost anything on screen so long as the audience is pacified and placated with constant visual and auditory stimulation for 2 hours, and their film gets judged by a lower, more lenient critical standard when compared to other films. These films are essentially big-budget cartoons. In fact, it's getting to the stage where most of what you're seeing on screen isn't being filmed on a practical set anymore. Almost every scene and shot contains some kind of CGI or green screen situation. It's amazing they still need human actors at this point. From a technical feat, the film is incredible. This is a marvel of modern special effects, no pun intended. When I watched the end credits while waiting for the post-credit scene, the amount of CGI artists and animators listed who worked on this film is just unbelievable. The list of names just fills the entire screen. The movie is well shot, well produced and edited. It's a polished, cookie-cutter franchise movie that came off an assembly line of the Hollywood action blockbuster factory. You can complain about fast food if you want, but you were the one who chose to eat it. Now and again it's fairly harmless, but too much and it makes you sick. The processed manufactured taste becomes unpleasant. Avengers Infinity War will genuinely entertain you if you're looking for a romp, but nothing about the characters or story will stay with you. There's no single CGI fight scene or special effect that will stay with you afterwards. It all kind of blurs together. You barely remember most of what you saw within a few hours of watching the movie. You will just remember that you enjoyed the film at the time you watched it, kind of like the cheeseburger you ate last night. Kinda tasty, but forgettable. The film ends on a cliffhanger as expected, as this is the first of a two-part conclusion. Thanos succeeds in killing half of all life in the universe. Many of our heroes begin to dissolve away at the end of the movie, thus thinning the herd for the next installment and hopefully making the cast of characters more manageable for the writers because they won't have as many people competing for screen time. Though I suspect all of this will be undone and everyone will be back by the end for the predictable very last universe-shattering showdown. Who knows, perhaps time travel of some kind will be involved. Anyway, for those fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and invested in this franchise, I think you'll be pleased with this movie and probably excited for the next one. For the average cinema goer, it's another big blockbuster summer movie that will entertain you for 2 hours. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.